He decides to be a Pashmina shepherd and joins a group of Tibetan nomads in the Changthan Valley. He learns the ropes of being a shepherd in one of the most inhabitable places in the world. He discovers the life of the Chengpas, which is marked with uncertainties and unseen dangers. He gets his own flock and leads a solitary life. These are a few lines from one of my book called 6 Times Thinner, coming out soon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Babar Afzal, and I come from Jammu and Kashmir, a place where Jammu has a story of a lion and a goat drinking water together, and Kashmir, for which Amir Khusro, and later when Jahangir visited Kashmir, recited a famous couplet, Gar Firdos Barroez Amiyast, Amiyasto, Hamiyasto, Hamiyast. If there is paradise on earth, it is here, it is here, it is here. I grew up in Jammu and Kashmir, part of the family in Jammu and part of it in Kashmir. The time when I grew up, our state was engulfed with terrorism. That was the backdrop we got as a gift. And there were practically no opportunities that time. My friends, including me, that time, everyone wanted to leave the state. They wanted to look for better opportunities, and that time the only hope for everyone was good education. If you were good academically, you could find a better job, and that would take you out of Jammu and Kashmir. And that was the only thing which I was also looking for, and I did that. I wanted to leave this place for good and never return. In short, the corporate career I had, there was a lot of wow in it. I started, in fact, the first job I got with an MNC, it was on one key skill which I had, which was problem solving. They had literally advertised that they were looking for problem solvers. And I think coming from Jammu and Kashmir and the way we grew up, that was something we all got naturally. We were equipped to handle all sorts of problems. And it was later I realized that this was a gift from my state, from my land. I was in love with technology. I always wanted to get deeper, go beyond into technologies, and a lot of people call me hacker. A hacker who was in love with technology. Seriously, there was nothing bad about it. I became a white hat hacker, got involved in a lot of security implementations worldwide. The things which I did for a living, I had some small advantage. It was like, if you engage me to make all the locks of your house, you cannot but treat me properly. You have to treat me with respect, because I have the key to your house. Every lock is designed by me. Because of that, I could negotiate a lot of things in my corporate career, and one of the things which I negotiated was luxury. Everyone was ready to pay that price. It was so bad, in short, the corporate career was so bad, that if, we used to call back home, and if the food cooked at home was not good, me and my colleagues used to just book international flights only for the food that was served in that flight was better than what was cooked at home. We were living at that extreme level, and that was the vow that was in my life. Jammu and Kashmir, which gave me this sense and the ability to solve problems, was at the bottom of whatever I was doing. It so happened that one day I was scrolling up one of the news apps on the iPad, where I read that there were 24,000 Pashmina goats which had died in Changthan because of starvation. They had died because of starvation because in that place, which had about 1 to 2 centimeters of snow, that year it had 108 centimeters of snow. The food was buried in the snow, and these goats were starved for 3 months, and they finally died. It was a big number. The sad part was the media did not report it properly. It was a very small news on one of the corners of the paper. But there was something which caught my attention, and with that news, I felt that all my life and all the glamour in my life was very small in front of that news. I do not know why. Even today, I do not know why and what I'm trying to answer. But there was something in that moment I decided that I would be a shepherd. This was not And this is my experience where I felt that it is not, big decisions in life really take moments. Those are moments calls. And I realized that time, maybe the only link I find me being a shepherd today and involved in this project is maybe as a child, I played with a goat. That was the only reason. I started living with these shepherds and got to know their life and how they spent their days. When I jumped over, I realized that 6 years back, I disconnected with all the things I was physically, with my work, whatever I was doing. I got involved in a project and with this community. It was then, after 6 years, it was then that the connections I have made, when I physically got disconnected with the normal networks, living in mountains, when I used to come back, I realized that the sensitivity levels which I had grown. I became very sensitive. It is a normal thing which happens with anyone who goes up in the mountains. And if you live there and you come down, even the sight of a car or anyone speaking loudly, you will start shivering. You will not be able to accept that. That was the sensitivity level increase that I got and became so sensitive. I had become sensitive. And I realized that there is something strange about this thing. The nomads, the Changpas, this is a community which preserves the ancient heritage and religion of Himalayas. This community is physically acclimatized to live at altitudes above 18,000 feet and temperatures lower than -30. You and me are not even physically fit to live at that altitude without oxygen. Now the goats, the Pashmina goats, are reared by this community. This community is under a strange effect of climate change, and it's a multi-layered problem in which they are trapped. Living with them, I realized that there is some power, and there's always, you always feel that there is a bigger call, and the bigger call is a universal system. And that universal system is something, when you connect with, that is where you find your true calling. When I got physically disconnected with the network, without a phone, without a laptop, all of that, I made the biggest connections globally. I got connected with Hollywood. I have some really good friends there. Strangers have come in my life to help me in my project, and the whole thing is growing like anything. In this span of 6 years, I feel that these shepherds have a lot of wisdom, and that wisdom can be translated into lessons for everyone. Today we have a lot of startup action in India, and today if you talk about the power of India, if you look back, India is the largest and the oldest civilization. In 10,000 years, India has never invaded any country. Mathematics, arithmetic, algebra, Sanskrit, which is the mother of all European languages, that is what power of India is. And when I talk about the shepherds in this terrain, there is some great knowledge, and there is a lot of symbolism in the lives of the shepherds. And that symbolism, taken well, can have strong lessons for startups, students, executives, homemakers. Everyone can have a lesson which are very powerful. I would like to quote that there is no religion in the world whose prophet was not a shepherd. There is a symbolism, there is certain kind of a message in that arrangement. And I think if we are able to feel that, we would definitely be able to solve a lot of problems in our lives. The first lesson which I got from the shepherds was shed excess baggage. Today, if I have to ask, and I want to take a picture of society, how can I do that? I cannot take a picture of society. I would not know if the society is happy or is it sad. The only way I can do that is because of the data signatures that you put on your browsers, the kind of things you serve, your patterns, the data that you generate creates a pattern. It creates that geometry, and that geometry creates a picture, and that picture always talks. And you have to understand that to understand the big picture, you have to understand this data. And when you understand data, you would be in a position to know if the society is happy or is it sad. Let us say in Jammu and Kashmir, People go to Google in, say, for example, in the month of April, everyone goes to Google and searches paracetamol. We pick up data from Google Trends and we see that everyone in the month of April is searching for paracetamol. Now there are two analogies out of it. The first analogy is that in the month of April, there is some problem. No matter what the problem is, you can sell paracetamol, which is the entrepreneurial side of the exploitation of the opportunity. On the other side, if you are a social worker and you want to dig deeper, you would like to dig deeper to find what is the cause of that headache. And if that headache is because of maybe the Darbar move, you would want to speak to the town planner, to the traffic guys, to solve, because everyone in society gets a headache in the month of April. The first lesson that I got from these shepherds was shared excess baggage. It goes very simple. You have to sort yourself out. If you're able to sort yourself, what does a shepherd have? A shepherd carries a staff and a blanket. Staff is the support, and the blanket is the universe. Only when the shepherd is light is the shepherd able to take care of his herd. For us to solve problems of somebody else or bigger problems, we have to be light. If we are not having that capability to make our lives light, there is a problem there. And the first lesson that you get from the symbolism of the shepherds is shared excess baggage, which could be mental, which could be physical, and that analogy can be linked to relationships, to everything. Once you're able to see this, and you are light, you would be in a position to bring light into somebody else's life. The genius of the last century, Albert Einstein, when asked about his opinion about God, he expressed his amazement about the order in the universe. He said it is not about God, it is about godliness. He never believed in God, but he said he was always amazed at the order in which the universe rests. The second lesson, count your sheep. This is something which a shepherd does on a daily basis. It is something like a SWOT analysis. You should know where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. On a daily basis, the shepherd comes out, goes to the fields, goes to the pastures, and comes back. The one activity that he does on a daily basis is counting his sheep. Wilfredo Pareto in 1906 observed that he was talking about the law of vital few, where he said that 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. He was studying land ownership in Italy. He said 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. He went to his kitchen garden where he had planted peas. He said 80% of the peas are in 20% of the pea pods. Then he started to classify the wealth of the top two people, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. The total wealth of the top two was equal to the rest combined 8. And he found that there is a strange order in this chaos. Even a UNDP report which was done in 1992, it said that total wealth of the world is in the control of 20%, or 80% of the wealth is controlled by 20% of the population. Now there is some order in which this society, the larger systems are structured. And when we understand chaos, we will find that the universal systems have a very calibrated structure. We know that no pasture will be there forever. Seek greener pastures. We know that everyone has the right to look for opportunities outside. Looking for opportunities outside with own capabilities, everyone has the right to seek greener pastures. Today we know that people disagree in groups. No matter what I am saying, you disagree. And that is okay. Divergence is a reality, disagreement is a reality. Divergence is a common theme that stretches between subatomic strata and stars, something that combines society and stock markets. And human innovation has been about channelizing that divergence and reducing the volatility that comes with the divergence. We see today there is on one side we have a business, and on the other side we have a businessman. We reward a business for the profits it makes, and we reward a businessman for the philanthropic contributions that he does. But how rarely do we stand up and say, generational auto manufacturer who stands up and says that making cars and putting them on roads is taking us away from energy dependence. It is taking us away from poor consumption habits. But one might argue that chaos is how a society structures itself. New Age quantum findings today reveal a very interesting pattern. They say the output of an experiment is controlled by the state of mind of the experimenter, which means that what you seek is seeking you, and the results are practically dependent on what you're looking for. Face the wolves. The fourth lesson which we get, we see a lot of problems around us, but we keep our eyes closed like an ostrich. And the reason we do that is because we feel that we do not have the capability to address a bigger problem. A shepherd always, every day, takes care of its goats and is always aware of the wolves around. Wolves are internal demons. We have to take care, we do not have to scare away. The shepherd doesn't run away from the challenges put forward by the wolves. And fear in the shepherd is making him capable to address and find solutions and face them with courage, to address the internal demons. It is something like, computer science students would know 0 and 1 combination, which is like, life is always a play of opposites, positive and negative. In wisdom structures, there's a yin and yang. All of that combined together works towards a common objective. A very important thing for the startups today is the shepherd always knows when to leave the pasture. Leaving the pasture is like, we always forget when to exit the party. Exiting the party is the key today with startups, with everyone. The moment I become successful, what happens with me? My risk-taking ability increases. When that ability increases, I take larger risks. I think I am the best. My judgment is compromised. I start going on to the top, and that is where my downfall begins. Exiting the pasture is a very important thing which goes in favor of everyone, because the pasture takes time to grow back, and the people and the shepherds also get time to take the goat to other pastures and come back when it is regrown. Eleanor Ostrom in 1906 she died recently, and she got a Nobel Prize for her work called Tragedy of Commons. It goes like this, that I am a shepherd and you all have a shepherd, are shepherds. You have one cow each. You see that Babar has 1 cow, you add 1 more to your kitty. I take my cow, I milk it, I make cheese out of it, I sell it, I am fine, my family is fine, we are economically good. You see that Babar has got 2 cows, you add 1 more. Greed comes into play. And soon we realize that there is nothing left in the pasture. This was the common. No one owned this pasture, and there was a big tragedy that happened in that pasture. Today, the commons that we have is air we breathe, the roads that we use. We do not own it. And sometime when we use that service and we destroy that, the environment is facing a lot of challenges because we have our own priorities on a higher pedestal in comparison to what is good for overall society. There's another concept. Herbert Simon, who was the father of artificial intelligence, and Francis Galton, they were looking at the movement of elements in a structure. They said anything that goes to one end of an extreme, there is certain magical power which pulls it back. We took that further and we said a behavior of people in a group, when it goes to the extreme, there's a tendency it comes back. The extreme reversion case, exactly what happened with me. I left this place for good. I never wanted to come back. And today I've reached a point where I represent the state. And there's so much good here which I represent. Extremes come. What happens when you have long spells of war? There is peace. You know, Spain was at the bottom of the football ranking when it came back and won the World Cup. The rags to riches stories, millionaires out of, we have so many stories which are extreme reversion cases. Leaving the pasture is a very important thing. We should know when to leave the pasture for the goodness of the pasture and for ourselves. Herbert Simon, father of artificial intelligence and behavioral finance, he said every complex structure is made of small, comprehensible structures which are placed in hierarchy. And when you are able to understand and comprehend a small structure, you can solve a very big problem. Today we see that there is fragment in society. In one part, you will see that there are people who will say, how can I fight climate change? How can I fight poverty? These are the problems created by my forefathers, and I'm not even capable to understand and solve any problem. I'm not the chief minister, the prime minister, or any kind of a policy maker who can address this problem. But in the same society, you will find there are people who will say, let us fight climate change. Let us fight poverty. Why? And because of this disagreement, we have been able to preserve society for longer time. No mountain too high is one last lesson from these shepherds, and which is that we all have different mountains. Every mountain has a different altitude. When we are focused on bigger goals, small mountains have to be, those are small petty matters which need to be addressed in lighter notes. If you're focused, you can conquer and you can be on top of anything in the world. No mountain too high. I would like to show you one picture and also end my talk here. This is a painting where you'll see that one wing of the butterfly is the wing, and the second, if tilted, is the world map. There's something called butterfly pattern. It is like a small flutter of a butterfly wing in one part of the world can actually create a cyclone in another part of the world. Meaning your small contributions can really make bigger changes. You do not have to be a large group to make impactful changes. And this is what is happening. I would like to end the quote with a quote: a worldwide celebration of love and the greatest spiritual revolution will be experienced if animals will feel as powerful and as happy as humans and children. Thank you.